The story goes that when Mephibosheth was only 5 years old, like he didn't cause this because of his sin. He wasn't doing anything stupid or anything like that. But when he was only 5 years old, news came of his father's death, and his nurse, who was trying to flee out of fear of their own death, grabbed young Mephibosheth at 5 years old, was trying to save his life, and she accidentally trips and drops him and shatters both of his legs. In other words, he's not born crippled. He wasn't doing anything dumb to become crippled. He was simply dropped by someone who was supposed to be protecting him. Can't tell you how many people today who are spiritually and emotionally crippled today because they were accidentally dropped by someone who was supposed to love them, was supposed to care for them, and was supposed to protect them. A lot of times it's a parent. It's something that happens when we were kids. They're supposed to love you. They're supposed to care for you. They're supposed to protect you. And instead, they accidentally dropped you over and over and over again. Sometimes it's a church leader. Sometimes it's a terrible experience. You're looking for truth and grace, and you want to find healing, and instead you're dropped because you're not quite what they wanted you to be. You don't fit the mold. You don't make us look good or whatever it may be. And so now you want nothing to do with the things of God, and you find yourself hiding in a place like Lodabar, where it honestly feels like you will never, ever, ever be able to hear any word or anything from God again. And all I want you to see is that this is who the Lord puts on David's heart that morning. Praise be to God. It says that he calls out for him. The Mephibosheth is not looking for David. He's not running in his own strength. David comes looking for him, because this is what the 1% do. They always go after the one, right? Like, this is what the 1% do. They're not content to come in and sit and take, sit and soak, and come and receive, and all these kinds of things. No. All of that reception, all of that receiving, all of that grace has been poured out on me. It must go back out there. And this is what the 1% do. They always go after the one. They always want to welcome the one. They always wake up and they're thinking about the one. God, is there anyone left of Saul's household, the enemy, the one who is crippled, the one who is isolated, the one who is lonely, addicted, and anxious, the one who is hiding on the outside that doesn't know your grace quite yet? Is there anyone in that household that I can show your kindness to today? And so David wakes up, because that's what the 1% do. They always go after the one. It's what Jesus is talking about in Luke chapter 15, when the people come to him and say, hey, Jesus, why are you hanging out with these people over here? Why are you hanging out with those sinners? That's not what religious people do. You're supposed to be a religious leader. You're supposed to be the Messiah. Why are you hanging out with all those people over there? And you remember what he says. Let me tell you a story. There's a lost coin. There's a lost sheep. There's a lost son. And he goes off in chapter 15 and he says, hey, there's a woman. She loses a coin. She turns over her entire house in order to find that lost coin. Why? Because that coin is valuable in the same way these people are valuable. Let me tell you about a shepherd. He's got 100 sheep. 99 of them are great, but guess what? One of them takes off, runs away. He leaves the 99 in order to go in to find the one. Why? This is what the 1% do. They care about the one. They are always looking to welcome the one. They wake up thinking about the one. It's Luke chapter 19. When a corrupt little tax collector named Zacchaeus, Jesus sees him, decides to invite him into his home and eat with him, because that's the kind of God our God is. Our God is a God who cares and is always welcoming to the one. It's Luke chapter 8 when there's a woman who's bleeding for years, and it says that Jesus touches her and heals her. Why? Because he's a God who cares and is always welcoming to the one. Are you seeing this? Like Luke chapter 8, Mary Magdalene possessed by 7 demons. John 8, there's an adulterous woman who's humiliated and condemned by the crowds, and Jesus doesn't see it that way. Matthew chapter 8, it's a leper who hasn't been touched in years. John chapter 9, it's a blind man. Philemon is a runaway slave. Jonah, it's the Ninevites, who are the most violent and evil people on the planet. Acts chapter 9, it is a hate-filled zealot named Saul, who would later go on and say that I was a chief among all sinners. There was no one who is worse than me, a persecutor of believers and a hater of God. And Jesus comes to him and he heals him, because that's the kind of king our king is. He's a king who cares and always goes after the one.